Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com. Today we're going to be learning fingerpicking etude number 6. And in this etude, I wanted to switch it up. So the first 5 were all major sounding. They're very happy sounding etudes. This time around, I wanted to create a piece that focused around a minor key, and I also wanted to incorporate some diminished aspects of it. So diminished chords, diminished licks, that kind of stuff, just to give us a bit of a different texture in our tonal sound for the piece. So in this lesson, which is part 1, we're going to be learning the intro plus the first theme in its entirety. If you guys want to learn the rest of this tune, which would be the second theme, that's going to be taught at rockclass101.com. Just look for the lesson for fingerpicking etude number 6. You can also find the complete tabs to print off and follow along with there, and you can get access to that on-screen tab viewer, which is really cool. You can hit play, watch the tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down to whatever speed you need. Just a really, really cool asset for learning this song that much quicker. All right, so let's go ahead and kick into this lesson. Now, this song is in the key of D minor, which I find to be the saddest of all keys. Now, with that said, let me go ahead and play you the intro. And the intro is not too hard to play. It's the same chord shape that moves up the neck, and it's a diminished run. So here's what it sounds like. Okay, so there's just the first bar. There's a second bar for the intro too, but let's cover this real quick. So basically, if we were to make a basic G7 chord, so this is probably something that we're all familiar with. The G7 chord looks like this. It's the middle finger on the 2nd fret of string 3, index finger on the 1st fret of string 2, and the ring finger on the 2nd fret of string 1. So there's our stock G7, dominant chord. This is the chord shape that's moving up for 3 out of 4 shapes. So if I make the first shape, and I go to the second chord, right, then the third chord, and the fourth chord, you notice that for 2, 3, and 4, it's that G7 chord shape. So it's a chord shape we're all familiar with. But where we're playing it on the neck, it becomes a diminished chord. So let's go ahead and retract to the first one. So the first one of this is still a G7. If you were to make a G7 and you moved that chord shape down a half step, so if I go down a half step, boom, what happens to my first finger? Well, it's playing this fret that doesn't exist, right? So we can just lift it up. So in essence, what I'm doing is I have my middle finger on the 1st fret of string 3 and my ring finger on the 1st fret of string 1 and an open G and an open E. Okay, so there's our first one. So it's a D flat diminished 7. Throughout this, we're going to be doing the same picking pattern with the right hand, where we're going to go string 3, 2, 4, and then 1. So 3, 2, 4, 1. So I like to do a 3-finger approach for the right hand finger picking. So these 3 fingers or these 3 fingers. So if we call out these 3, we have thumb getting string 4 and string 3. Index gets string 2. Middle finger gets string 1. So if I was to use that, these 3 fingers, I have thumb, index, thumb, middle finger. But what I like to do is thumb, 2nd, 3rd, so it's an either or, whatever's most comfortable. In this scenario, thumb again gets string 4 and string 3, middle finger gets string 2, and our ring finger gets string 1. So it would be thumb, middle, thumb, ring. So it's up to you guys, this or this. And if you guys want to learn more about using different approaches for right hand finger picking, then check out this course that we wrote. So again, we're going string 3, string 2, string 4, string 1. After we play this first shape, we're going to move it up a step and a half. So we're going up to the 4th fret and the 3rd fret. So here's where we start to make that G7 chord shape. So from here, I was on fret 1, I'm going up a step and a half. So that means we're going up a whole step plus a half step. So that leaves us with an open G string, our middle finger on the 3rd string 4th fret, index finger on the 2nd string 3rd fret, and the ring finger on the 1st string 4th fret. So we have that G7 chord shape. So from here, we're doing the same picking pattern, 3, 2, 4, 1. Okay? So if we just practice from the first one, we have then moving up a step and a half, making that G7 chord shape, and playing from there. Now rhythm is straight 16th notes, so we want to count 1 E and 2 E and So I have 3, 4, 1 E and 2 E and go at whatever speed, but keep them even for right now. Right, first one, second one. The next chord is still a diminished. Basically, diminished is the same 4 notes we're playing throughout. We're just going to be moving it up the neck by a step and a half, and they get rearranged. All right, so that's kind of tricky to comprehend, right? Think of it as like a sequence, like a number sequence. If the first time around you had these 4 notes that make up this chord, consider it 1, 2, 3, 4. By moving this shape up the neck, then you still have 1, 2, 3, 4, but maybe this time around it goes 2, 3, 4, 1. So it just redistributes those same 4 notes in a different order. So that's just an easier way to think of it for right now. But it's kind of a cool thing for diminished. It's a really interesting movement of a chord. Okay, so the third shape again, we're just going to move up a step and a half. So if we're on 4 and 3, we're just going to move the same chord shape up to 7 and 6. So we have open, 7, 6, 7. And same pattern, guys, 3, 2, 4, 1. And then from here, we're going to move that one up one more time, a step and a half. So we're on 7 and 6 now. We're going to go to 10 and 9. Okay? And when we get to 10 and 9, we're going to be playing with a little retardando. So we're going to just play it a little bit slower. So you're gradually going to slow down when you get to that 4th one. So in essence, it would be something like this. Start to slow. Right, so a nice little gradual slow down. We can fermata that last note, that first string, just hold it out. And the ending of the intro is going to sound like this. So if I put that together, guys, I have hold it. And we can fermata that last chord too and hold it for as long as we want. So basically, you hear it's just 2 bars for the intro. And it's a diminished run that goes up the neck, and then we have 5 to the minor 1. So nice twist on a classic cadence. So the last part, guys, is going to go our ring finger on 9th fret of string 2 and our middle finger on the 8th fret of string 1. We're going to play those 2 notes with the open G. So we have an A7 sharp 5 for this chord. So we're plucking string 4, string 2, and string 1 together. And then lift your middle finger up, put your index on the 7th fret of string 1, play that note by itself. So we have pluck, and then 7 on string 1 by itself. So don't forget to lift up. And then lay flat on the 5th fret, strings 1, 2, and 3. And we can strum down, and we have a D minor. All right, guys, so if I play the entire intro, this is what we get. All right, so let's move on and look at theme 1. All right, so here's what theme 1 sounds like. We're just gonna play the first bar and then break it down. Okay, so there's quite a lot going on in this, and we're incorporating strumming in between some single note picking out of the chord. So the first chord we have is a C chord. So the way we're gonna make it is gonna be tricky. So I'm going to talk about a couple ways to do it to make it easier, but I highly suggest practicing this way because it is extremely useful chord shape to get down, and you'll find that it will be used in a lot of other tunes that you play as you continually advance in your playing. So the first chord, we're going to take our middle finger, we're going to do a partial bar, so lay it flat on the 3rd fret strings 1 and 2, and take your ring finger, put it on the 4th fret of string 3, the G string will be open. So obviously what makes this hard is the middle finger right there. Now most of the time when we make this chord, we're used to doing this. Okay? Now the reason we're going to use our middle finger is because we're switching to an E minor. Boom. So the switch is going to be very easy. If we were to do this, then we have to do a lot more work with the left hand. So it's just going to be a lot easier to use the middle finger for flat. So the key with this is that you see that first knuckle stays bent in and the second knuckle sticks out, so it's got that curve. And our left hand, if we look at it from the side, we have that U-shaped gap, the thumb is in the middle, completely straight, it's not bent or anything, and that's the trick with it. So there's an article and a video lesson on proper left hand form. You guys can reference that. Just click this little card link that comes out. So if you need to recap on proper left hand form for these harder shapes, then go ahead and check that article out. So let's go ahead and talk about the rhythm of this bar real quick. And we are basically going to be playing predominantly 8th notes, but the tricky thing is we're throwing a 16th note in there as well, 2 16th notes. So the rhythm is like this if I was to count it. 1 and 2 and a. So that's going to double twice. So if I do the entire bar, I have 1 and 2 and a, 3 and 4 and a. So you can see we have 8th notes, 1 and 2, and then we have 16th notes and a. And then again, it's just going to double, 3 and 4 and a. So that's what's really tricky, is that we have to have those 16th notes, those quick hits. So let's actually hear what it sounds like on the uke. So there's the first half. 1 and 2 and a. So it's a mute and a follow-up of a single note. So let's break that down and then keep talking about the rhythm. So make that C chord. We're going to go ahead and just strum it. And then we're going to hit the 4th string open. And then we can strum again. So we have 1 and 2. So there's our 8th notes. Here comes the 16th note. We're going to do a little muted hit. So we're just going to flick the first string. We're going to mute it with our left hand. So just touch those strings. We're going to mute it. And then we're going to go ahead and get our fingering into that E minor chord shape. So that E minor is that staircase. So we're probably all familiar with it. But let's recap it real quick. That ring finger is on the 4th fret of string 3, middle finger is on the 3rd fret of string 2, index finger is on the 2nd fret of string 1, our G remains open. So when I'm switching, watch how this chord will, or this hand will switch from C to E minor. Okay? So when I get to that first muted, I'm going to come back and I'm going to switch quickly to E minor. So C, strum, 4, strum, mute, and you see when I go to the mute, I lift these fingers up. So that's the trick. I lift these fingers up to barely touch a string. Remember, if you barely touch the string, it will produce that muted sound, right? So everything's held down, strum, 4, strum, barely touch the string, mute, so I'm just flicking string 1, and I'm basically lifting up, not pushing down to form the chord, and I'm going to come up and I'm going to hit string 1, that melody note, which is fret 2. So I have strum, 4, strum, make the E minor, but don't push down, hit string 1 to mute, and then push down for the E minor and come up with my nail of my thumb to hit the first string by itself. So 1 and 2 and a. So it's really tricky. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So it's really tricky to get that rhythm down and to get the mute down and to get the 16th note hits down. 1 and 2 and a. So try and get that stuck in your head. 1 and 2 and a. So strum, 4, strum, mute, single note, right? Strum, 4, strum, mute. Strum, 4, strum, mute. And then single note coming up with the thumb. So again, guys, strum, 4, strum, mute, and come up with the thumb and hit string 1. Very tricky stuff. Now the second half of the bar is the same thing. So you're just keeping on E minor, strum, 4, strum, mute, and then moving down to the first fret with our index finger. We're gonna come up and hit that melody note. So strum, 4, strum, mute, 1. Okay? So let's go ahead and recap. So we have okay, if I count it 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and So tricky stuff. Go ahead and keep your first finger right here on the first fret of string 1 and add your middle finger to the second fret of string 3. Now we have an open 4 and an open 2. So I have open second, open first. So we have an E minor 7 with a flat 5 in there. So this is the second bar for theme 1, and it's going to follow the same rhythms. We have strum, 4, strum, mute, and then open first. So it's got the same rhythm, nothing's new. But the tricky stuff again is that 16th notes at the end. Strum, 4, strum, mute, and then you're just going to lift up and play the open first, coming up with the nail of your thumb. So if I put the movement from bar 1 to bar 2 for this, I have so tricky stuff. I have strum, 4, strum, mute, 1, strum, 4, strum, mute, 1, strum, 4, strum, mute, 1. So really tricky. You can even think of it as a beat, try to get it down easier too. Da 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 ch da 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 ch da 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 ch da. Right, so whatever works the easiest way, but definitely try to get that rhythm nice and steady. And it doesn't matter how fast you go, but the goal is to get it steady and clean. So now the second half of this second bar is going to be pretty much 16th notes, just going to be a lick that we're going to be playing. Sounds like this. Okay, so we've got some hammer-ons going on and pull-off as well. So take your first finger, we're going to be putting it on the first fret of string 3, and we're going to hammer on. So we're going to actually, we could strum 4 to 3, and we could do a little hammer on to the second fret of string 3. From there, we're going to play 2, 4, 1. So it sounds like this. Hammer, 2, 4, 1. But let's keep that rhythm steady. Okay? 3, E, and then beat 4 would be the open first. 3, E, and 4. From here, you're going to hammer on with the ring finger to the second fret of string 1, and then pull off to the open. So if I put that together, guys, I have 3, E, and 4, E, and... Okay, and that last note's going to be a 8th note. 3, E, and 4, E, and... Okay, and again without me calling. So if I put that bar together, guys, I have from E minor 7 flat 5. If I count it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and ba da da ba da 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 da. So you can count it as the rhythm or think of it as the beat. Okay, so the first 2 bars, guys. Going on to the next bar, we have a basic D minor, so we're probably familiar with this shape. It's the second finger on the second fret of string 4. Ring finger is underneath that, so that's the second fret of string 3. Index finger is on the first fret of string 2. And our A string is open. So same thing going on here. We have strum, 4, strum, ba-ba. But then we're going to be moving our chord shape up. So actually, let's play this bar all the way through. Sounds like this. So this one, we're doing the same rhythm throughout, but we've got some more muteds at the end of it. So let's break it down. So make that D minor. We're going to go strum, 4, strum, mute. And if we can try to catch this next chord shape. So this is our E diminished 7. So it's the second chord shape we did from the intro. So the intro was, right, remember that G7 shape chord? Where we took that G7 shape and we're playing it on fret 4, 3, and 4. So that's the second chord in this bar. So we're just going from D minor to this E diminished. So you guys can just practice that change. Okay, so I have strum, 4, strum, mute, 4. If I can make that chord change quick enough, I can catch the first string at the end for that 16th note. So when you're making this chord change, watch what happens. The easiest way is that index finger moves up a whole step to the 3rd fret, right? Index moves up a whole step to the 3rd fret, and these two fingers will drop down strings, right? So watch these two. They're going to drop down, boom. But that index finger does not move. It just moves up a whole step, right? So it basically stays anchored. So that's the easiest way to switch with those chords. Okay, so strum, 4, strum, mute, 4, right? First string, boom. Then we're going to do the same thing, strum, 4, strum, and we're going to follow it up by 2 mutes for this one. So just down, up on the first string. Right, and then from here, we're going to go into our next bar, which is D minor. So it's going to be that flat on the 5th fret of strings 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so here's what this bar sounds like. And this bar breaks us out of that strum, 4, strum, mute, mute kind of sound. The first 3 bars had that theme going throughout it. Now the 4th bar is switches it up. So here's what the 4th bar sounds like. Okay, so we're starting on that D minor. We're just going to strum 3 down. So we're going to go strum, and then we're playing out of it. So we're going to pluck string 2, and then we're going to pluck strings 1 and 2 together. And then we're going to pluck string 3. So we have strum, 2, pluck, 3. Remember, pluck is only strings 1 and 2. So again, strum, 2, pluck, 3. Okay, the second half, we're just going to move this index finger down a half step. So just move it to the 4th fret. Then take your ring finger, we're going to lay it flat on the 5th fret, strings 1 and 2. So it's a partial bar. So here's our A7 sus4. So this one is tricky again because that ring finger needs to be flat at the first knuckle and curved at the second one. So again, reference that proper left-hand form for some of these harder chord shapes. So from here, we can actually strum all 4. So we have open, 4, 5, 5. And then we're going to play string 4, and we're going to pluck 1 and 2, but we've got to do a quick little change. We're changing to an A7. So basically, all that's going to happen is watch that ring finger. That ring finger is going to lift up, and our middle finger is going to come down on the 5th fret of string 2. We're going to pluck strings 1 and 2. So from sus4, we have strum all 4, play open 4, lift the ring up, we don't need it, put the middle finger down on the 5th fret of string 2, and pluck. So again, if I watch the movement of the index finger, I have D minor, strum, 2, pluck, 3. Move it down a half step to the 4th fret, add the ring finger to flat on 5, strings 1 and 2, strum, 4, lift the ring up, we don't need it, add the middle finger to the 5th fret of string 2, pluck 1 and 2. So a tricky, tricky bar. And we're keeping it straight for eighth notes until the last hit. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So that's our rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay? So that gives us the first 4 bars for theme 1, guys. So let's go ahead and just play through all that, and then we're going to look at the second 4 bars. Alright guys, so that's basically what we get. So let's go ahead and move on. Alright, so for the next 4 bars, we basically are taking the same thing that we're doing, but this time around we're changing it up by really finger picking way more than doing the strum kind of thing. So we're going to be strumming on the main hits 1 and 3, but we're going to be finger picking out of the rest of it. So no more muted accent notes and that kind of thing. So it's basically like a variation. That's what you can think of it as. So if I play through just the first bar, you can hear what we're talking about. Okay, so you see it's just a bunch of finger picking out of it. So our rhythm's going to be 1 and a 2 and 3 and a 4 and. So if I count it, guys, I have 1 and a 2 and 3 and a 4 and. So again, 1 and a 2 and 3 and a 4 and. So it's 8th note followed by 16th, 1 and a. Okay? So again, make that C chord. So we're going to go strum, and then we're playing a pattern out of it. So we're going 3, 2, 4, 1. Okay? But the second and third note is going to be quick. So we have strum, quick, quick, 4, 1. And again, strum, 3, 2, 4, 1. Okay, again, strum, quick, quick, 4, 1. And if I call it string names, I have strum, 3, 2, 4, 1. Okay, switch it to the E minor, same thing, strum, 3, 2, 4, 1. So again, da, 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 ba, ba, da, ba, 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 ba. Okay? And then the same thing's going to happen for our next bar. But again, let's just go ahead and play the first bar for this second half. So this is bar 5. Okay, the next one went to the E minor 7 with the flat 5. Okay, so this one's going to start to incorporate some more finger picking licks out of it. So the first part of it's going to start the same, where we had strum, 3, 2, 4, but when we get to the next part, it changes. So here's what it sounds like. We have strum, 3, 2, 4, pull off 4. So if I don't call it out, I have. You can hear that we're carrying on with the 16th note. So basically what's happening is strum, 3, 2, straight 16 from here on out, 4, 1, pull off to the open string, open 4. So that's basically 1 to 0 is our pull off, right? So strum, 3, 2, 4, pull off 4. Okay, again, strum, 3, 2, 4, 1, 0, 4, 1, 0 on string 1. Strum, 3, 2, 4, pull off 4. And then we're going to be throwing in that same ending lick that we did in bar 2, so which was. The only difference this time is that instead of kind of strumming it, we're just going to be laser focused on our hit, and we're going to hit string 1. I'm sorry, we're going to hit string 3 on the first fret and hammer on. But the same lick is identical, so 1 to 2 on string 3. Open second, open 4, keep that middle finger where it's at, open 1, hammer on, pull off. So the same lick as before, guys. So if I put that bar together, I have strum, 3, 2, 4, pull off 4, followed by the same lick. So tricky stuff. If I play bar 5 and 6, guys, I get okay, very cool sounding though. So going into the next one, again, we're going to D minor to that E diminished. So those same chord shapes as before. So this one, we're starting the same pattern, strum, 3, 2, 4, 1. And then for the second chord, the diminished, same thing, guys. Strum, 3, 2, 4, 1. So simple in that we're keeping with the same theme. Strum, 3, 2, 4, 1, strum, 3, 2, 4, 1. Okay, now when we get to the last bar for this, we're going so we've got eighth notes, but again, a little bit trickiness with some of the stretches. All right, so go ahead and lay flat on the 5th fret. So we're going to do D minor. So we're going to go strum 3, add your ring finger to 7 on string 1. We're going to pluck strings 1 and 2 here. And then add your pinky to 8 on string 1, and again pluck 1 and 2. So we have strum, 3, pluck, pluck. Okay, so walking up a melody on string 1. Strum, 3, 7, 8. Okay, then we go back to this E diminished 7. We're gonna go strum, 4, and that's the open G. Then add your pinky to 5 on string 1. We're going to pluck strings 1 and 2. And then stretch with your pinky to 7 and pluck strings 1 and 2. Okay, so again, this one is strum, 4, 5, 7. Okay, so if this stretch is really awkward, then check out this article that I wrote on how to increase your left hand reach. So it's got a lot of exercises that are going to help you with getting used to doing some of these bigger stretches on the neck. All right, guys, so that completes bars 5, 6, 7, and 8 for theme 1. If you're following along with the tab, then it's labeled as bars 7, 8, 9, 10 because we're counting the first 2 bars from the intro as bar 1 and 2. So let's go ahead and just recap the second half. I'll play through it, and then we're going to talk about the last couple bars for theme 1, and that'll wrap up this video. So here's the second half of theme 1 so far. Okay, so let's look at the last couple bars. This is going to be a diminished walk down for the ending of this theme. So here's what it sounds like. I'll play both bars. Okay, so really cool stuff. So the first one is going to be a G diminished. We're going to be basically putting our index finger on the 7th fret of string 3, ring finger on the 9th fret of string 2, and pinky on 10 on string 1. G string will be open, so we're going to strum that chord. Then we're going to lift our pinky up, put the middle finger on 8 on string 1, play a single note. So we have strum, 8, and then after that, we're going to lay our first finger flat, and we're going to be plucking strings 1 and 2. So that's 9 and 7 because this now became a partial bar. Okay, then we're going to finish it up by putting pinky on 10 on string 2. So again, I have strum, 8, lay it flat, pluck 1 and 2, so that's 9 and 7, and then pinky on 10 on string 2. So again, strum, 8, pluck, 10. Okay, without me calling. Straight eighth notes, 1 and 2, and from there we're going to move down to this D flat diminished. So in essence, it's really just an octave shape. So basically all we're going to do is the first finger stays on the 3rd string, so it's the 1st fret. Pinky's on the 4th fret of string 1. We have an open 4th string and an open 2nd. We're going to play out of this shape, so we're going to go strum, and then take your middle finger, put it on 1 on string 1. Okay, and then lift that up, play open 1 and 2, and then open 4. Okay, so I have strum, 1, pluck, 4. Okay, so going from the first section to the second, I have strum, 8, pluck, 10, strum, 1, pluck, 4. So straight eighth notes throughout that part. Now the last bar is going to be a quick 16th note, so we have 1E and Okay, so this lick is going to be pulling off 1 to 0 on string 2, then the 2nd fret of string 3, and open 2. Okay, so pull off 2, O, then to the 1st fret of string 3. We're going to hold that out for a quarter and make a D minor and strum. So 1E and a 2, 3, 4. And we can fermata that D minor, hold it out for as long as we want before beginning theme 2. So the last couple bars again, guys, are 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2, 3. Okay? So that gives us everything for theme 1 plus the intro. So now we've basically got the majority of the tune learned, guys. So if I recap through everything, I'll just play it slow and call it out. We had that intro, which was a diminished run, and a little retardando, then the ending, and we can fermata that D minor. Going into theme 1, so we starting on the C chord. Okay, then the next couple bars. Okay, then the second half that we cover, so 5 through 8. And the last part of it. Okay, then the last 2 bars was the walk down for the diminished. Okay, so that gives us everything for intro and theme 1. Alright guys, if you want to learn the last part, which is theme 2, which is a really cool finger picking, and a diminished run again at the end of that, really cool stuff. That's going to be taught in part 2 of the video lesson at rockclass101.com. Just look for fingerpicking Etude number 6. And you can also get the complete tabs there to print out and follow along as a PDF format, as well as access to that on-screen tab viewer, which you can hit play, highlight bars, loop them, slow it down to any speed you want. Just a great asset in learning this tune that much easier. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I will see you in part 2.